Already have plans.
From Lakeview Arena in Marquette, Michigan, the Bresnan Sports Channel 8 presents Northern Michigan University Wildcat Hockey. Tonight's game, the Wildcats against the Wisconsin Badgers. Brought to you by Togo's with 2 locations in Marquette and Harvey. By Raleigh's Carpet and Furniture and the Home Gallery. We make your house a home. By the American Cancer Society. There's nothing mightier than the sword. By Fry Chevrolet. Make every day a Friday. By AutoWorks of Marquette, selling and servicing Audi, Volkswagen, Porsche, BMW, and Mercedes-Benz. And by Jandren's Fine Jewelers in the Westwood Mall. Good evening and welcome to Lakeview Arena. I'm Dave Danis for Bresnan Sports along with Tom McCord. Tom, the Wisconsin Badgers come in. They were swept by Minnesota last week. Conversely, the Wildcats had their best weekend of the season out in Denver with 10-2 and 9-5 victories.
Well, Northern Michigan, Dave, came off that 8-1 loss down at Lake Superior, which wasn't a very pretty sight to see, to bounce back to sweep those two against the Pioneers. And maybe right now Northern Michigan is starting to come together as a unit just a little bit, having that sweep on the road last weekend.
The Wildcats swept the Badgers 4 straight in the season series last year and have won 7 out of the last 10 between the teams. And more importantly, they've won 8 and lost 2 and tied 2 here at Lakeview against the Badgers.
Well, in the series overall, Dave, it's the 38th game tonight that's going to be played. Wisconsin leading 20-15-2, and Northern, as you pointed out, has really drawn the edge a lot closer in the past couple of seasons.
We'll be back with a look at the starting lineups and the opening face-off when Wildcat hockey continues right here on Channel 8.
That's not the way to get to camp, and that's not. Here's the way in a new Geo Tracker from Fry Chevrolet Geo in Marquette.
It's the lowest price four-wheel drive you can buy. We've got 15 in stock. You can buy one starting at $269 a month. You can lease one as low as $249 a month. We've got 15 in stock. See us now for low-cost four-wheel fun.
Tracker at Fry Chevrolet Geo in Marquette.
Hi, I'm Neil Jandren.
And I'm Kathy Jandren. And we'd like to welcome you to Marquette's most complete jewelry store, Jandren's Fine Jewelry.
At Jandren's, we have the largest selection of stone rings in Upper Michigan, gold chains priced by gram weight, a great inventory of diamonds over 1 carat, and we're the area's only Swarovski crystal dealer.
And Jandren's also has in-store watch and jewelry repair, along with engraving.
So for beautiful jewelry at the price you can always afford, come to Marquette's most complete jewelry store, Jandren's Fine Jewelry in the Westwood Mall, Marquette.
Welcome back to Lakeview Arena, getting set for the starting lineups for the Wildcats and the Badgers. We take you down to ringside and rink announcer Tim McIntosh.
Number 17, Blaine Moore. On the wings, number 21, Brett Kurtz. And number 32, Dan Plant. The Badgers are coached by Mr. Jeff Sauer. For the defending national champions, the Northern Michigan University Wildcats. Starting in goal, number 1, Corwin Sordip. On defense, number 5, Garrett McDonald. And number 8, Phil Sukharov. Center, number 20, Mark Beaufait. On the wings, number 24, Mike Harding. And number 25, Tony Zabo. The Wildcats are coached by Mr. Rick Comley.
In case you missed the Badger defensive starters, they will be Barry Richter and Brian Rafalski, and Dwayne Dirksen will be the starting goaltender.
Stand as the Northern Sound Machine presents our national anthem.
We're just about set for hockey action here at Lakeview Arena. The Cats and the Badgers on Channel 8. We'll take a look at the goaltenders for tonight's game. First of all, the officials, Bill Wiseman and Mark Nebel, the linesman, and Brian Ritchie is the referee. There you see in the Wisconsin net, Dwayne Dirksen. He's a senior from Morden, Minnesota, being touted as a Hobie Baker candidate. 6-footer, 182 pounds, with a career record of a record against this season of 6-4, 338 goals against, 889 save percentage. But Tom, he has not had a lot of success against Northern.
Not at all, and career-wise, a .479 goals against average. And here's the Northern Michigan goaltender this evening, freshman Corwin Sarda. Sarda played extremely well so far this season from Warroad, Minnesota.
Corwin's got a record of 5-1 this season, 246 goals against, and a 91.4 saves percentage. Going back to Dirksen, he's only won 2 of 10 against Northern, and NMU is one of only 2 teams in the WCHA to have a winning record against Dwayne Dirksen. There you see Jeff Sauer, the Badger coach, 419 career victories, up among the top 10 all time, and a man who would like to move into the top 10 this season, Rick Comley, currently tied for 11th with Ned Harkness and Badger Bob Johnson with 394 victories. We're just about set for hockey. There you see the starting lineups for the Wildcats. Buffet, Zabo, and Harding up front. McDonald and Sukharov on the defense. And for the Badgers, Moore, Plont, Kurtz the forwards. Rafalski and Richter the defense. Dirksen and Corwin Sardif, the freshmen, are the goaltenders. Brian Ritchie's ready to drop the puck, and we're underway here at Lakeview. Sukharov tips it up across center ice. Zabo couldn't get there in time. The Badgers turn and send it back the other way to the Wildcat blue line. Zabo for Buffet at center ice. Gets up to the blue line. He's stopped there by Brett Kurtz. Play in now behind the Badger net. Rafalski up ahead for Blaine Moore. He's bumped off the puck by Garrett McDonald. Tony Zabo couldn't handle it. Sent back in by Brett Kurtz. Badgers change on the fly. Garrett McDonald for Phil Sukharov. Sent it up ahead for Scott Beatty, tipped off of his stick to Helgeson, who sends it back in behind the Wildcat net. Jamie Spencer in the corner for Wisconsin. Helgeson now with the puck, being bumped by Zabo. Harding took a swipe at it and cleared it out of the zone. Mako Balkovec dumps it into the left of Sardif, wandering out of his net to play it, and he better get back quickly. As Helgeson, or check that, Jamie Spencer had a shot at the puck. Hiller for Scott Beatty at center ice. Beatty knocked off of the puck by John Helgeson. Helgeson, a 6'1", 190-pound senior from Roseau, Minnesota. Now it's Jim Hiller at the top of the circle. Puck sent back into the Wildcat end by Jason Francisco. Now it's Harwell taking a bump from Greg Haddon. Badgers into the Wildcat zone. Jamie Spencer. Back to the point. Harwell with the shot. That goes wide. Another chance for Jason Zent. Sardif will cover up. There you see Mark Strobel of the Badgers. He's a freshman from St. Paul, a defenseman, 6', 175 pounds. Another guy on the Badger team fits that same description. His twin brother Mike, who is the 4th line left wing for the Badgers. The Wisconsin line, Chris Tucker with Jason Zent and Jason Francisco. The Wildcats counter with Greg Haddon, Dan Rojo, and Joe Frederick. Frederick had a goal last weekend in Denver, sends it ahead a little bit too far for Greg Haddon. Dirksen will leave it behind his net for Mark Strobel. Frederick planting his Badger opponent Jason Francisco as the play comes back to the Wildcat blue line. Now Steve Carpenter breaks away from the pack. Carpenter has Dan Rojo with him. He's knocked to the side by Mark Strobel. Play in behind Dirksen. Dan Rojo will leave it for Frederick. Frederick couldn't get there in time. The Badgers control Joe Harwell. Teammate and juniors of Joe Frederick with the Madison Capitals, and we'll have an offside at the Wisconsin blue line. He had a quick peek there at number 22 for the Wildcats, Chad Dameworth, the 6'2", 199-pound freshman defenseman from Marquette, getting to see his first activity of the season. Ripplinger wins the draw for the Wildcats. Dameworth fires it in behind the Badger goal and up over the glass. And so we'll do it all over. Ripplinger has Gans and Bill McGilvery on his wings. Barry Richter for the Badgers playing the puck. Now the Wildcats come away with it. Pass to the point was intercepted by Kelly Fairchild. Back into the Wildcat zone. Sardiff will cover up as he had a Badger man crashing down on the net. And I believe that was Barry Richter. Check that, Mike Strobel, the twin brother of Mark. Sardiff in net, his only loss coming to Michigan Tech in a 3-2 decision here at Lakeview Arena. McDonald had his pass intercepted behind the net. Sardiff steers it back to the side. Zabo fighting for it, gets it to the blue line, but not out. Shot and a save. Rebound shot for the Badgers, and that was blocked in front. Shot from the point for Richter. Wildcats unable to clear the zone. Blaine Moore dumps it into the corner. Sukharov ahead for Mike Harding, the big sophomore. Tony Zabo at the top of the circle, shoots, and a save by Dirksen. Zabo had his first goal since October 19th last week against Denver. He's rung a lot of iron, but hasn't been able to dent the twine very often so far this season. Badgers now play it off into the neutral zone. Sukharov will fire it back into the corner as both teams opt for a line change. For the Badgers, John Helgeson at center ice, bumped off the puck by Jimmy Hiller. Jamie Spencer got it to the circle and not much farther. Helgeson sends a bouncing puck into the slot. Dallas Drake now coming out for the Wildcats. He's got Beatty and Hiller with him up over the blue line. Pass a little too far in front of Beatty, and Dirksen will leave the puck behind his net for Mako Balkovec. Up ahead for Jamie Spencer. He dumps it into the Wildcat end. Sardiff plays it around. It's picked off by Helgeson. Tried to send it in front. Went off the skate of Lou Malone. Spencer lost it to Dallas Drake. Drake dropped it at the blue line, and it went right between Beatty and Hiller. Pass off the stick of Hiller for Dallas Drake. Takes a shot. Dirksen gets a pad on it. Hiller trying to follow the bouncing puck. Finally it comes to Chris Tucker. He couldn't get it out of the zone. Jim Hiller right in front. He scores, and the Wildcats are up 1-0. Tom, Jimmy Hiller just left all alone in front of the Badger net. You can't do that with a guy like Jimmy Hiller.
Well, Chad Dameworth back at the blue line in his first game for Northern Michigan. Made the play by keeping it inside the Badger zone. Got it down low, and it came right out front to Jimmy Hiller, and Dirksen had no chance.
5:08 the time of the goal. You take a look at the replay. There was Jimmy Hiller all by his lonesome on Dwayne Dirksen's doorstep. And the Cats are up 1-0, 10th goal of the season for the junior from Cranbrook, British Columbia. Beatty and Dameworth will draw the assist. Good start for the Wildcats. Now Haddon taken to the ice at the blue line by Joe Harwell. Frederick doing some bumping with Mark Strobel in the corner, and the Badgers break back. Chris Tucker. He's got a man with him right in front, and the Badgers tie it up. Jason Zent. And just as quickly, the Wisconsin Badgers come back. Only 32 seconds after the Wildcats had gone out in front.
Northern Michigan defense has to challenge this man coming in over the blue line instead of playing in the middle. They've got a trailing defenseman coming back. but you can't let him set up in front of Sardiff like that and expect Sardiff to make the save.
For Jason Zent, that is his 4th goal of the season. And we're all even. Jason Francisco will draw an assist along with Tucker on the goal for Jason Zent at 5:40 of period number 1. Sardiff sends it off the glass. And it takes a Wildcat bounce out to center ice. Richter sends it to the sideboards, dumped in there by Kelly Fairchild. Fairchild in the corner, sandwiched between Ripplinger and Malone. Now Malone for Bill McGilvery. To Lou Malone at center ice, he'll send it in. And the Cats will change up the buffet line. Badgers breaking out at center ice. Brian Rafalski over the blue line, lets one go, goes just wide. Dameworth ahead for Harding to Mark Buffet. Buffet sidesteps the Badger. Buffet over the blue line, had his stick tied up, got the pass off to Steve Carpenter, a shot, and what a save by Dwayne Dirksen. Badger lost his stick as the Wisconsin team gets it out to center ice. Can't get it across the Wildcat blue line as Harding fires it back into the corner. 12:45 to go here in the first period. Shot and a save and a score! Tony Szabo found the 5-hole. And the Wildcats go up 2-1. Looked like Dwayne Dirksen got a piece of it at first, but Szabo got enough of it to get it through.
The Lakeview crowd contributed into this Wildcat goal as it's the most vocal they've been all season. Dirksen went down and the puck got underneath him.
Just the 3rd goal of the season for Tony Szabo. It comes at 7:09. It's hard for us sometimes, Tom, that goal light is mounted right behind a support post for the glass. We can't see that thing go on like we would like to be able to. Mark Buffet will draw the assist. Sukharov up over the blue line for the Wildcats. And we'll have a stoppage in play. Tony Szabo maybe coming out of his shell. He had scored once back on October 19th and then nothing again until last weekend at Denver. So we'll see if he can start to put him in bunches as he did so often last year. Dallas Drake turns into the Badgers zone and an offside call. Some of the Wildcat faithful not agreeing with the linesman on that whistle. Face-off will be just outside the Badger blue line. Badgers come into the game with a record of 6-4 on the season. They were swept last week at Minnesota. On Saturday night, they played the game in the Met Center and sold it out. They had a record regular season crowd for college hockey of about 15,700. They even outdrew the amount that the North Stars had in the Met during the Stanley Cup Finals last year. Beatty in front of the net gets the backhander off, and Dirksen trying to find the puck in traffic, and it was poked into the Badger net, and I think Mako Balkovec, the Badger defenseman, was trying to fish it out, poked it in. We'll have to see it on the replay, and it's 3-1.
Well, this puck comes back out pretty quick with Brian Ritchie right on the spot in the back pointing towards the goal. And that might be Jimmy Hiller who poked it in. I'm not sure, though.
We'll have to wait for the official word. You saw Balkovec trying to fish it out. It did come back out in front of Dirksen. 8:01 the time of the goal. Hiller from Beatty. So Jimmy Hiller very quickly with 2 goals tonight, now with 11 on the season. And Dwayne Dirksen's troubles with the Wildcats continue here at Lakeview Arena. The Wildcats with 2 goals in 52 seconds after the Badgers had tied the hockey game.
You know, I don't know right now if we can classify the 3-1 lead as Dirkson's problems, because the Badgers in their lineup, Dave, have 13 freshmen and sophomores on the ice tonight, and Lakeview Arena is not a place to break in a rookie.
Definitely not. Jeff Sauer saying today he had lost 18 letter winners over the past 2 seasons.
And Doug McDonald out of the Wisconsin lineup also until January.
McDonald out with a separated shoulder, as Dirksen has to come up with another big save. And that really hurts. He said Doug McDonald's been out a couple of weeks, and he's still the team's leading scorer, so they haven't found anybody yet that has been able to pick up the slack for the red and white. Shot trickles just wide of Dirksen. Badgers finally able to get it out of their own zone. Comes right back in. Joe Harwell will play it in behind the net. Puck all the way back down into the Wildcat end. Jason Hare takes a bump behind the net, but gets the puck off to Lou Malone. Up ahead, off the boards, a little too far for Dan Rojo, and Dirksen will have to cover it once again. The Badgers rather, with 3 freshman defensemen dressed tonight, 1 in each of their pairings. Ripplinger with a chance off the side of Dwayne Dirksen. We're talking about Doug McDonald. He's played in 6 games, has 10 points, is the leading scorer. Brett Kurtz is second, having played in all 10 Badger contests with 9 points. Tony Szabo, check that, McGilvery. For the Cats, now Gans takes a bump, keeps the puck in the zone, however. Comes across to the opposite corner. Badgers unable to clear. Shot in behind the net. Get it out across the blue line, and we have a Wildcat down on the ice over by the boards, and they're calling for the trainer, Mark Stossner.
Ripplinger?
That would be my first guess. I don't see number 14 on the Wildcat bench. And it is Brent Ripplinger down on the ice for the Wildcat. It kind of happened. It kind of happened behind the play. Tom, did you see what caused Richter to go down, or Ripplinger?
No. Kind of hold your breath after what happened to the Lions' Mike Utley last week, I'll tell you that.
It's strange in a sport of high-flying, high-speed collisions that somebody can get hit and make it look like they're going to be broken in half and bounce back up and flip the ball to the referee. And just a freakish thing in the Utley situation. There you see the league standings. The Minnesota Golden Gophers in first place, 12 points in 8 games. The Badgers also have 12, but they have played 10. The Gophers are playing out of conference this weekend out at Anchorage. And the Wildcats are in third place, tied with Duluth with 10 points, so a Wildcat victory tonight would leave them tied with Wisconsin and Minnesota. And there you see Michigan Tech with 9 points in 5th place, 3 points separating the top 5 teams in the Western Collegiate Hockey Association. Szabo fires it in for the NMU Wildcats, comes all the way around, was played off the boards by Dan Plant. Here comes Plant over the Wildcat blue line. Nice D by Garrett McDonald as Plant ends up in the Wildcat net on beneath Corwin Sardiff, and now Plant and McDonald are going to go at it. And these guys won't be playing tomorrow night. Dan Plant, no favorite of Wildcat fans. If you remember in the game, the first game here at Lakeview Arena last night, he took a run at Billy Pye late in the game. And he and Garrett McDonald will be gone. It just remains to be seen whether they'll get the majors or get double roughings.
Sit down now.
Sounds like from that, double minors.
Both players will get 4 minutes. As they go off at the 9:51 mark. You'd have to say Plant was the instigator there. But McDonald will also draw 4 minutes. Pair of 17s in the face-off circle. Blaine Moore, the sophomore from Kitimat, British Columbia, and another BC native, Scott Beatty of the Wildcats. Badgers control. Chris Nelson fires it in behind the Wildcat net, bounces all the way around. Lou Malone will play it, battling against Blaine Moore. Taken by Scott Beatty. Off the backboards for Jason Hare. Jimmy Hiller now for the Cats. Teams playing 4-on-4 for the next 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Moore can't handle the puck coming across the blue line, takes a bump from Malone, and Hare will play it. Off the skate of Scott Beatty. Beatty up to the Badger blue line, slides it by Harwell. And the puck goes up over the glass. And we'll face it off with 9:24 to go here in the first period. Cats leading at 3-1. Barry Richter of the Wisconsin Badgers, his dad Pat Richter, the athletic director, and the last man at the University of Wisconsin to win 9 varsity letters, winning 3 each in baseball, basketball, and football, going on to a career in the NFL with the Washington Redskins. Chris Tucker from Bloomington, Minnesota, back behind the net for Richter. Baron Patrick Richter, the junior defenseman of the Badgers, up across center ice, taken to the boards by his good buddy Joe Frederick. Frederick up over the blue line for Drake. He was bumped by Rafalski. Frederick will turn and fire it into the corner. Dwayne Dirksen will leave it behind the net for Harwell. Sends it back up the boards for Jason Zent. Across the rink for Rafalski. Rafalski, drop pass for Chris Tucker. Tucker into the slot for Richter. He's got a shot saved by Sardip. Zent had a chance at the rebound, and he's taken rudely to the ice by a couple of Wildcats.
2-on-none right in front of Corwin Sardif that time, and the Wildcats very lucky that Wisconsin didn't put it in the net.
There you see in the penalty box, Dan Plant of the Wisconsin Badgers, a 5'11", 208-pound sophomore from Hayward, Wisconsin. Badgers control the faceoff. Now Hare will play it behind his net for Malone, up ahead to Tony Szabo for Mark Buffet. Buffet has Hare alongside. Couldn't get around Chris Nelson. Harwell will play it off the boards to Nelson for Jamie Spencer. Spencer knocked down at the Wildcat blue line by Lou Malone. Hare being chased by Andy Shire. Jason Hare, Defensive Wildcat of the Week a couple of weeks ago, sends it the length of the ice, and we'll have an icing call. Out for the Wisconsin Badgers, John Helgeson will be joined by Jason Francisco. Francisco had an overtime goal in a victory over Michigan Tech last weekend. The Badgers winning a pair of overtime contests over the Huskies at the Dane County Coliseum. Scott Beatty for Sukharov. Sukharov up ahead, tipped away from Jimmy Hiller by Brian Rafalski. Beatty for Hiller. Hiller with a blast, and that's tipped wide. Scott Beatty. Across the blue line. Chance in front. Shot just wide by Jason Francisco. And a whistle down in the Wildcat zone, or the Badger zone rather, as it'll come back to center ice. Face-off will be between Dallas Drake and Chris Tucker. Shot and a save by Sardef. Jason Zent had the chance for Wisconsin. Dallas Drake into center ice for the Wildcats across the blue line. Joe Frederick in behind the Badger net. 20 seconds remain in the penalties to Plant and Garrett McDonald. Dameworth got it back, but not out for the Wildcats. Now he gets it across the blue line, but not very far. Chris Nelson will dump it in, and we'll have an offside. Badgers touch up. Malone over to Dameworth as both teams return to full strength. Barry Richter clears the zone, and Dameworth will send it back across the Badger blue line.
Chad Dameworth in his first appearance for Northern, as we look at Mark Buffet, hasn't looked too out of place out there. He's been getting some help on the defensive end from Steve Carpenter, pointing things out to him, positioning him just a little bit. Carpenter with a little more experience at this point.
Dameworth, a good-sized kid at 6'2", 199 pounds, and he's from Marquette. Harding clears it into the Badger end. Richter sent it around behind his own net. Sukharov couldn't hold it in for the Wildcats, and Garrett McDonald will send it back. Badgers coming with it. Brett Kurtz had it go off the skate to Phil Sukharov. Now it's Blaine Moore. And Plant chasing it for the Badgers. Dan Plant tried to send it in front for Kurtz.
It's a check from behind.
For the Badgers, Mark Strobel sends it in. Both teams content to play a lot of dump and chase.
Looks like we've loosened up on the calling of the penalties a little bit.
Could be a welcome,
not too bad though,
welcome bit of relief from the parades to the sin bin we've seen. And we do have a penalty coming up here. I think we jinxed somebody.
The Northern Michigan penalty. McDonald headed right back into the penalty box.
And Garrett McDonald was that somebody. Badgers will go on the power play, as Garrett McDonald goes off for interference. On the power play this year, the Wisconsin Badgers 14 of 69 for a 20.3% success rate. There you see it on the lower left-hand portion of your screen. Meanwhile, the Wildcat penalty killers are 66 of 80 for 82%. And it's cleared all the way down the ice. Badgers start their power play. Jason Zent dumps it in. Along with Jason Zent on the Badger power play are Brett Kurtz and Andy Shire, as we'll have a penalty coming up. It'll be a hook going against Zent.
That's hard to believe. He high-sticked him across the shoulder and the helmet, and they're going to call a hook. I don't know if we can get a shot of the replay on that or not, but Kurtz got the stick right around up Lou Malone's jaw and shoulder area.
Well, that's not hard to do on Louis.
No, but still, that should have been an automatic penalty right there. And I'm not sure where he hooked him, except around the face.
So the teams will go back to 4-on-4. If you don't like 5-on-5 hockey, this is your year.
Should be an advantage to Northern Michigan with the 4-on-4 situation here.
Beatty and Hiller along with Sukharov and the freshman Chad Dameworth for the Wildcats. Hiller taken to the ice by Plant in front of the Badger net. Coming out with it for Wisconsin is Barry Richter. He goes to the ice at the Wildcat blue line. Also for the Badgers, Blaine Moore along with Brian Rafalski. Hiller has a shot glove saved by Dwayne Dirksen. Off of Plant's stick, bounces back into the Badger zone. Beatty, cross ice for Tony Szabo. Szabo trying to get inside, knocked away by Richter. Tony Szabo. For Buffet, back in front to Szabo, and he goes to the ice. Lakeview crowd wants a penalty. They won't get it. And Chris Tucker will play it at the Badger blue line. Badgers almost look like they're in a penalty kill here. 53 seconds remains in the Wisconsin penalty, 24 in the penalty to Garrett McDonald of the Wildcats. Jason Zent for Mark Buffet. Buffet for Dallas Drake. Runs into Chris Nelson as he crosses the Badger blue line and loses his hockey stick. It's Nelson losing the stick. Nelson with a big hit on Joe Frederick. Wildcats now on the power play. They're 21 of 70 this year, 30%. As Joe Frederick had a chance. At the side of the Badger net, Frederick couldn't get a stick on it a second time, and Dirksen will be forced to cover up.
Frederick working hard in the Wisconsin zone to get a couple of opportunities. Lou Malone had a good chance right out in the slot area. Didn't get too much wood on it, and right after that, we had another Northern Michigan player coming right down the slot, and they tried to jam it from the side instead.
11 seconds remained in the penalty to Jason Zent. Or check that, the penalty is Brett Kurtz. It was Zent who had the Badger goal. Steve Carpenter having some problems at the blue line as Andy Shire carries the puck out. Shire from downstate Port Huron as the Badgers return to full strength. McGilvery gets it to the middle of the rink, and the Badgers, Brett Kurtz will send it in behind Sardin. Corwin plays it off the boards. It hit a Badger, that was Francisco. Now it's out at center ice. McGilvery up over the Wisconsin blue line. Brian Gann sent it in toward the corner. Richter will play it now. Ahead for Kurtz. Joe Harwell. Out into the center ice area. Joey Frederick for the Wildcats. Fires it off the boards. Danny Rojo with a big hit on Kelly Fairchild. Puck trickled toward the slot area as Greg Haddon takes Richter.
Oh my.
And they're going to call him for charge. Tom, I take it you don't like the call.
No, not at all. Not at all. Sit down, Greg, before you pick up another two. He was going after the puck first of all, and he and the puck carrier, or he and the guy who picked up the puck, got there about the same time. And no, I don't like it. Stick wasn't high. Nothing.
2 minutes for aggressive
That's
hockey.
how Rick Conley feels about it.
So a 2-minute penalty on Haddon for playing aggressive hockey, also known as charging in some circles. And the Badgers will be on the power play. The Wildcats need to get another man on the rink. They only have 3. Finally, Mark Buffet comes off the bench. Drake will center it up with Brett Kurtz. Also on the rink for the Badgers, number 9, Andy Shire, and Jason Zent, along with Richter and Zent. Or check that, Blaine Moore. There is Moore with the long shot, high and wide of the Wildcat net. Shire battling with Buffet. Now Sukharov comes away with it, dumps it around. Drake takes a golf shot out of it and sends it the length of the ice as we have reached the last minute of play here in period number 1, with the Cats leading the Badgers 3-1. Blaine Moore up across the blue line, and we had a Badger offside.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm watching these face-offs down here, and isn't the visiting team's players supposed to have their stick on the ice first
I do believe
before
you
that
may be
puck
right
gets
on
dropped?
that.
And both times in that last sequence, we saw the Northern player down here in the zone, Dallas Drake, with his stick on the ice first, and when they finally did drop the puck, the Wisconsin player didn't even have his stick on the ice.
40 seconds to go as Mako Balkovic sends it around the Wildcat net.
They wonder why having such a tough time trying to drop the darn thing, you know.
Zabo just dumps it in. 1:07 remains in the penalty to Greg Haddon. 19 seconds now left in the period as Chris Tucker sends it in. Sarda steers it to the sideboards, and we're going to have a penalty coming up on Wisconsin. John Helgeson's going to go for elbowing as he took a shot at Phil Sukharov.
That'll even things off with only 8 seconds left in the opening period. 52 seconds left in the original minor penalty on Haddon of Northern Michigan.
So we'll play 4-on-4 for 8 more seconds. And Helgeson's going to get the gate. Not enough time to serve his penalty, so he'll head for the locker room. A good rule, I think, sending people who don't have enough time to serve their penalties to the dressing room, not having any unnecessary aggressive personnel out on the ice.
That's a darn good one.
5 seconds to go as Balkovic sends it back to the Wildcat blue line, and that will do it for period number 1. The Wildcats lead the Wisconsin Badgers by a score of 3-1.
Do you find yourself in a food rut? Well, get out of a rut with Togo Subs. Togo's has over 40 varieties of subs, hot or cold, all on white or whole wheat bread, baked 7 days a week, right in their own bakery. Everybody's got their favorite Togos. Why not come out and try to find your favorite? It may take all year, but think of the fun you'll have. Togo Subs, fast, friendly service for an inexpensive meal in itself. Togo's now with 2 locations, Marquette and their new store in Harvey. AutoWorks of Marquette takes control, featuring the finest German automotive sales and service in northern Michigan. AutoWorks features Porsche, Volkswagen, BMW, Mercedes, and the 4-wheel drive Audi 4 and 5000 S Quattro. If you've always wanted the outstanding quality of German engineering, now's the time to check out AutoWorks in Marquette. And remember to register to win tickets to see the defending national champion hockey Wildcats at Marquette's only German service and sales outlet, AutoWorks.
Welcome back to Lakeview Arena. After 1 period, the Northern Michigan University Wildcats lead the Wisconsin Badgers by a score of 3-1. Hi again, everybody. Dave Dennis along with Tom McCord. Tom, the Wildcats, it seems, for 3 games in a row now, playing somewhat like the national championship team of last year. They only allowed 5 shots on their goal in the first period.
Well, you know, with the 3-1 lead after 20 minutes and 5 shots on goal, those are 2 good figures. Wisconsin, though, could have been a little bit closer. They had a real excellent opportunity, 2-on-0 in front of Sardif, and we're still seeing some defensive miscommunication and breakdown in front of the Northern Michigan goal. On the offensive end, though, Northern Michigan capitalizing on their chances on Dwayne Dirksen. A couple of quick ones to get the 3-1 lead.
One bright spot for the Wildcats in that first period, the play of freshman defenseman Chad Dameworth. His first game, making a good showing for himself.
Well, Dameworth set up the first goal, or as we'll see it up here, is from Hiller, from Beauty and Dameworth holding the puck at the blue line, and it resulted in Hiller's goal.
32 seconds later, Jason Zent tied it up from Tucker and Francisco, but then the Wildcats came back with 2 goals in a span of 52 seconds. Tony Szabo, his 3rd of the year, and Jimmy Hiller, his 2nd of the game and 11th of the season at 8:01, and that's where we stand at 3-1.
Look at senior goaltender Dwayne Dirksen, who we pointed out coming on tonight, Dave, hasn't played that well in this building or against Northern Michigan for that matter.
4 penalties whistled on each team in that first period, and the second period will begin with the man from each team in the penalty box, Greg Haddon of the Wildcats and John Helgeson of the Wisconsin Badgers. I'd like to thank one of our sponsors of tonight's game, the Bleacher Creature Fan Club. Everyone should be one. You can sign up for the Bleacher Creatures at any Wildcat athletic event. $7 for students. Get you a sweatshirt, a coffee or soda mug, and all kinds of other neat stuff, and chances to win prizes at every home game. Basketball, hockey, football, even though that's over.
Mercifully.
There you see the remaining penalty times on the board. 44 seconds for Greg Haddon and 1:52 for Helgeson. The Badgers 0 for 2 on the power play in the first period. The Wildcats 0 for 1.
I guess from what I heard about the Ashland game, that fire alarm should have gone off sometime about the time it's supposed to get underway.
Well, at that point in time, I believe it was somewhere in the 3rd quarter with Northern behind by about 35 points. I was kind of wishing that was the time to call it a day.
4-on-4 hockey to start the second period. Here to bring it your way is Dave Dennis.
Thank you very much, Tom McCord. Buffet will face it off for the Wildcats. For the Badgers, it will be Blaine Moore. Play down in behind the NMU goal. Sardif off to our right has to make a save. And it comes back to the Badger blue line. Blaine Moore behind his back for Zent. Zent couldn't hang on. And Tony Szabo had a chance at it before running his Badger opponent into the boards. That was Rafalski. Hare in the corner to the right of Sardif up to the blue line. Jimmy Hiller behind the back pass for Buffet, got behind the Badger defense, and it's chipped up over the glass as Plant and Buffet took a swipe at it.
That last shift on the ice for the Northern defense pairing, Lou Malone had to hobble off afterwards. He blocked a shot in the high slot area, had to recover in time to poke it away from Jason Zent, and then started the lead rush, but headed straight for the bench to try and walk things off.
Faceoff will be to the right of Dwayne Dirksen. Dirksen, a draft pick of the Washington Capitals. Jimmy Hiller chipped it for Beatty. Beatty trying to get around the Badger defense. Joe Harwell got a stick on it. Hiller for the Wildcats. They are on the power play. Hiller off the side of the net. Beatty sent it right through the crease, and it comes all the way out to center ice. Dallas Drake at center ice for the Wildcats. Leaves it for Jimmy Hiller. Hiller back to the point for Sukharov. Sends it back in. Now Scott Beatty with a chance. Hiller tips it in. Hat trick for Jimmy Hiller, and it's 4-1 Wildcats.
Power play goal for Northern Michigan. Take a look at it on the replay, and Scott Beatty takes the pass right here. Hiller breaking for the corner, tips it between the pads of Dwayne Dirksen. 4-1 Northern.
12th goal of the season for Jimmy Hiller. I tell you, he's just come back like a house of fire since being out for only one game with a partial shoulder separation.
That's amazing. He's still hurting too, I can guarantee you.
Beatty and Sukharov will draw the assist as the Cats take the lead. Or shall I say increase their lead. Richter dumps it in behind the NMU net. Chance at the side of the net for Helgeson. And it'll come around to Andy Shire. Now Richter will keep it in, and Sardif will cover up.
Jimmy Hiller with that third goal, and I mentioned he has to be hurting just a little bit. He was expected to be out a minimum of 2 weeks, at least that's what the coaching staff and Hiller told me after the injury happened, and to come back the way he did last week, I think it was a 9-point weekend against Denver.
Right.
And you have to wonder if he could do any better if he was healthy. And back in the first period, I thought he actually favored that a little bit after he got dumped down there in the Wisconsin zone. He actually took himself off the ice.
The injury occurring in the Lake Superior game, which the Wildcats won here at Lakeview Arena. The only game Jimmy Hiller missed was the following evening.
A lot of people missed that one.
Or the Saturday game, rather. Shot knocked down by Sardif. Rojo gets it ahead to Dallas Drake. Drake with Rojo and Frederick. Joe Frederick in front for Dallas Drake. He scores!
I think we might see Michelizzi sometime soon.
9th goal of the season for the senior from Roslyn, British Columbia.
Where's the defense on this as Drake just goes right around the outside. Takes the pass across the middle, and Dallas, you're not going to get him any easier than that one, guy.
Well, I think they had Joey Frederick out there as a pulling guard. Getting some room for Dallas Drake to squirt through. Drake had begun the game up on the first line with Beatty and Hiller. Maybe Greg Haddon has fallen into disfavor with Rick Comley after his penalty. Haddon was the center between Rojo and Frederick. Play at center ice. Rojo gets it into the Badger zone where it's taken by Mako Balkovic, and we're going to have a tripping call going against the Wisconsin Badgers. Chris Nelson will go off.
Well, the team in red down here is in a world of hurt right now as they've had 2 quick goals scored on them here in the second period. And then pick up a penalty to boot, putting Northern Michigan back on the power play. Last time the Cats had the extra man, Hiller got his hat trick goal, and for Hiller, that was his first hat trick at Northern Michigan.
Wildcats doing something tonight they did quite well last year, scoring goals in bunches. 3 in 3 minutes in the first period, and 2 goals in about 50 seconds here in period number 2. Beatty, Hiller, and Drake, along with Hare and Sukharov, the power play for the Wildcats. Bill Sukharov at the Badger blue line. Sukharov for Scott Beatty. Back to Sukharov, fakes the slap shot, now fans. Got through to the slot, Badgers can't clear the zone, and finally Richter will get it out to center ice. Hare takes it back behind his own net. Minute 32 remaining in the Wildcat power play. Drake ahead too far for Hiller, and that'll be an icing call.
Northern unable to get organized so far, and the Wisconsin zone had an opportunity just a moment ago, but nobody could find the puck.
Play will come all the way down to the right of Corwin Sardif. Buffet, Harding, and Zabo, the forward line for the Wildcats on the power play, along with Steve Carpenter and Lou Malone. Brett Kurtz will center it up for the Badgers. With him, he has Blaine Moore, Joe Harwell, and Mako Balkovic. At the Badger blue line, Balkovic sends it back out to center ice. Malone chips it to the blue line. Buffet, he has Harding with him. Buffet around the net and tried to flip it out in front, but it went off a Badger stick and into the air. A minute left in the Wildcat power play. Mark Buffet for Zabo. Now Buffet to the point for Steve Carpenter. Mark Buffet tried to go down low for Zabo, and Balkovec got a stick on it. Wildcats still control. Lou Malone winds up, takes a shot. It hits a man in front. That was Mike Harding of the Wildcats. Now Zabel will set up behind the Badger net. Off the boards for Harding. Steve Carpenter. For Buffet, 23 seconds in the power play. Tony Zabo tried to go in front, and will have a penalty coming up to Buffet as he took Harwell to the ice.
Nobody at all in front of the goal for Northern Michigan on the power play. And as a result, Tony Zabo picks up the penalty.
15:42 to go, second period. Wildcats lead the Badgers by a score of 5-1.
Wildcat penalty number 25, Tony Zabo. 2 minutes for hooking. Time of the penalty, 4:18.
So it will be Drake with Frederick and McDonald along with Phil Sukaroff for the Cats. The Badgers will have Andy Shire centering up Rafalski and Zent along with Barry Richter. Rafalski, the freshman from Allen Park, gets a glove on it. Joe Frederick will take the puck. 5 seconds remain in the penalty to Chris Nelson. Then the Badgers will be on the power play.
Badgers are at full strength.
Wisconsin returns to full strength. 0 for 2 so far tonight with the extra man. McDonald had his clearing attempt knocked down. Chance in front, saved by Sardiff. And Zent unable to poke it by the goaltender. Another big save for the freshman from War Road, Minnesota. Cats can't get it out. Nelson had a swipe at it, and Frederick will send it the length of the rink. Andy Shire flips it to Richter. Richter up over center ice. Dumps it into the Wildcat end. Chases it down into the corner. He meets up with Jason Hare. And now it'll be Brett Kurtz. Kurtz back to the blue line for Richter. For Kurtz, number 21. Trying to go low to Blaine Moore. Badgers with another shot, and a sprawling Sardiff makes another save. And Lou Malone is able to clear it out of harm's way.
How did that puck ever stay out of the Northern Michigan goal? I'll never know.
And Andy Shire wants a piece of Dallas Drake as you have a look at Corwin Sardiff resetting himself. We'll have another look at it.
There was really nothing there except his arm to keep that puck out of that and lately the stick, but look at how much open space is there.
You almost got to try hard not to hit a space that big. A lot of twine staring Jason Zent in the face, but found nothing but the arm of Corwin Sardiff.
Well, I think Corwin's probably got Wisconsin talking about right now.
Probably got them talking to themselves right now.
Well, it'd have to be to themselves because Northern's not going to listen.
33 seconds remain in the penalty to Zabo.
You don't listen to the opponents when you got the 4-goal lead.
Now, if you do, it usually ends up in a mistake. I think it was when Bobby Orr was a rookie. He was going in, I believe they were playing, Bruins were playing Pittsburgh, going into the Pittsburgh zone, and a voice behind him said, "Drop it to me, drop it to me." Well, he dropped it, and it happened to be Vic Hadfield of the Penguins. Mr. Orr learned very quickly. Dan Plant in the Wildcat zone, takes the shot, gets through the legs of Sardiff, but he got enough of it to send it to the corner. Sardiff again taking a swing at it, and he'll cover it up, and a little battle going on in front of the net between John Helgeson and Garrett McDonald.
11 seconds left in the Zabo minor penalty. Wisconsin's had the puck control and have been dangerous, but they haven't been able to hit the twine behind Sardiff here yet in the second period.
Face-off will be to the right of Corwin Sardiff. Now firmly entrenched as the #1 goaltender for the Wildcats. Played both games last weekend against Denver. For the first time this year, the Wildcats used the same goaltender both nights in the same series. Cats are now at full strength. And we have another whistle. Tomorrow afternoon, the Wildcat men and women's basketball team open their season. Wildcat women open up against Wisconsin Parkside at 1 o'clock. The men at 3 against Michigan Dearborn. Both games at the C.B. Hedgecock Fieldhouse on the campus of Northern Michigan University. And then, of course, tomorrow night here at Lakeview, the Cats and the Badgers in Game 2.
You know, it's amazed me. I was doing women's basketball when they first started on the collegiate level. It's just amazing the difference in play now from 10 years ago. I mean, it's just amazing.
Definitely. Also a big football day. 3 high school state semifinals at the Dome. I tell you, that's nice for our friends at the Mining Journal and at the radio stations and at TV6 that they've got 6 events to cover, but they're all within 4 blocks of each other.
Of course, best of luck to Kingsford, Negaunee, Lake Linden, and Pickford. Penalty call coming up.
Could be Scott Beatty. And it will be a cross-checking penalty as Beatty took Blaine Moore down in the corner to the right of the Wisconsin net.
6:37, the time of the penalty call on Scott Beatty. Wisconsin, back-to-back power plays here in the second period.
Badgers 0 for 3 so far tonight. Hitting at around 20% on the season, which is pretty much a middle-of-the-pack statistic for power play efficiency. Richter controlling the puck for the Badgers off the skate of Drake. Zent had a shot at it, and then Lou Malone cleared it back across the Badger blue line.
Good defensive play by number 44.
Richter will lead the attack for the Badgers. Brett Kurtz back behind the Wildcat net. And it gets piled up on the twine, and play will be stopped.
For your convenience, Hattrick Souvenirs will remain open after tonight's game. Many items commemorating the 1991 NCAA championship.
One of the people helping to make tonight's broadcast possible, Togo's, with 2 locations in Marquette. And their new location, cleverly hidden behind Jack's IGA out in Harvey.
Haven't seen that one yet.
You got to look behind the IGA.
Well, I always look when I go past the IGA, but that's because my radar is going off in the truck.
Those darned electric door openers.
Yep. You never know, though, when the police are going to discover that and put a car there anyway.
Richter at his own blue line. Puck hopped over his stick. Dallas Drake trying to chase it down for the Wildcats, and Barry Richter had just enough. Zent into center ice for Moore. Back to Zent. He goes around the Wildcat net, taking the great circle route, and Frederick will clear it down the rink for the Wildcats with a minute to go in the Beatty penalty. Andy Shire spinning away from Zabo over the Wildcat blue line. McDonald got it up to the circle but not out, and Zent will play it. Back to the point for Richter. Richter sends a shot in front, and Sardiff trying to cover up, and Helgeson knocked it wide. Kurtz sent it in front for Helgeson. Malone got in the way of that. And Louis will clear it down the rink with 25 seconds left in the penalty. And a penalty coming up. It will be on the Badgers. A cross check. Mark Buffet taking the stick of Chris Tucker in the back. And the parade is in full force.
8:24, the time of this penalty call on Wisconsin. Northern Michigan will be going on their 4th power play of the evening.
12th penalty call of the night.
Number 19, Chris Tucker.
The 6th on the Wisconsin Badgers. 6 also whistled down on the Wildcats.
You called Andy Shire's number a couple of moments ago. Shire, one of 2 Michigan natives on the Badger squad. Shire from Port Huron, Michigan, and Brian Rafalski, a freshman from Downriver Allen Park.
Hare with the shot. That was tipped away. Spoken like a true Detroit native, Tom. As the puck is flipped into the Wildcat bench.
Of course, nobody wants to claim to be near Detroit anyway, so everything's downriver.
Drake will center it up for the Wildcats. Dan Plott for the Badgers. And Drake wins the faceoff. Unfortunately, no one on that side of the rink to pick it up for the Wildcats as they return to full strength and go on their 4th power play of the evening. Dirksen gets it to the blue line, kept in by Jason Hare. Jimmy Hiller up for Buffet. Hiller had the puck bounce over his stick as he took a swipe at it. And the Badgers are able to clear. Minute 15 remains in the Wildcat power play. Hare for Phil Sukharov. Scott Beatty now kicks it behind the net for Drake. It rolled by Dallas. He's being held up by Joe Harwell. And the Badgers break out. Jason Francisco off the stick of Sukharov, and Sardith will play it behind his own net. Hare for Scott Beatty. Over the Badger blue line. Tried to send it cross ice for Jimmy Hiller. Intercepted by Kelly Fairchild. Malone for Brent Ripplinger. Ripplinger taken to the ice by Rafalski, and it'll be a 2-man power play for the next 19 seconds as Rafalski will go.
Not much choice for Brian Ritchie on that one.
It's going to be a holding call, and Rafalski getting a hold of the arm of Brent Ripplinger, and looked like something out the WWF.
Yanked him pretty good. The only thing missing from the end of that ball was the ropes.
2 minutes for holding. Time of the penalty, 10:05. Rafalski for holding.
Tucker and Rafalski in the sin bin for the Badgers. It'll be 5-on-3 for the next 19 seconds for Ripplinger, Szabo, and Mike Harding. Ripplinger gets the draw back to Sukharov. Lou Malone winds her up, sends her in front, and it goes wide. 7 seconds now in the 2-man. Ripplinger back to Sukharov. He flipped that one up over the net. And the Badgers are now 1-man short. Ripplinger with a shot and another knuckleball. Wildcats unable to get good wood here on this power play. Lou Malone will send it. Slides it in. Ripplinger had a chance at it. Off the skate of Richter. Sukharov keeps him in the zone. Phil Sukharov, the senior from Fernie, British Columbia, to Ripplinger. Ripplinger tried to get it down low to Szabo. Tony Szabo had that go off the stick of Marko Balkovec.
I didn't think he'd send anybody on that. He's going to send them both.
For what?
25 white, 26 red, 2 each for the high stick. They both got a shot in.
That's for what?
Coincidental, guys.
Both got a shot in, he says.
Coincidental.
We'll take another look at this, and maybe I can see where the penalties are committed.
Well, they each got a pop there, but if he's going to call both of those, that's 1, that's 2. But he's going to miss the holding call coming in from behind, as Zabel's going to get restrained there. But oh well.
The days are over when you each take a pop and skate away and get ready for the face-off.
Wisconsin penalty number 26.
Penalty Party 1991, this year in the WCHA. Wildcats with the 5-on-4 power play now for the next 58 seconds.
At 10:55.
Hare's pass too far out in front of Scott Beatty. Now Buffet had it taken away by Blaine Moore. Badgers clear it back behind the Wildcat net. 38 seconds now in the power play. Shot into the corner by Buffet, and the Badgers send it out. Boy, somebody got their hair parted down in the section just below us.
Well, not quite. It got some attention, though. It drew some eyesight once it started flying that way, but you know, you can't overemphasize. If you're watching a hockey game, you have to watch the puck.
Puck striking a
Hit the bar down there right
guardrail
in front of us.
I tell you, I remember standing on the bench as a manager for my high school team and having a puck part my hair. Not a pleasant thought. Upcoming, as we mentioned earlier, the men's basketball opener tomorrow at the Hedgecock Fieldhouse. The Wildcats taking on Michigan Dearborn at 3 o'clock, and at 1 o'clock the Wildcat women will face Wisconsin Parkside. Chad Dameworth ahead for Joe Frederick. He'll bounce it into the Badger zone with 10 seconds remaining in the NMU power play. Dan Rojo with a shot, and Dirksen makes the save. Rojo goes to the ice with Balkovic. Badgers return to full strength with 7:50 to go, second period. Rojo, the Madison native, across the Badger blue line. Zent got it to the blue line, but not out. Now Rojo will tee it up, gets off a weak shot. McGilvery taken to the boards by Chris Nelson. Now Frederick and Balkovic in a battle for the puck. And finally it squirts loose. It'll be taken ahead by Rafalski. Rafalski flips it weakly over the blue line, and Sardoff will get there first. Cats send it the other way. We'll have an icing call with 7:13 to go.
Reminder, ladies and gentlemen, that the Wildcats and the Badgers play against.
Still got a couple of people in the penalty box across the way. Richter for Wisconsin, Zabo for Northern Michigan. Teams, though, back to 5-on-5 for the first time in a while. And Zabo and Richter will be out in about another half a minute.
Tonight's game brought to you in part by Rowley's Carpet and Furniture and the Home Gallery. They make your house a home. Rowley's and the Home Gallery. Buffet sends it in for the Wildcats before taking a bump from John Helgeson, and the Badgers clear it. Will have icing the other way.
So look at big Mike Harding, 6'4", redshirt freshman from Edson, Alberta. Of course, Mike's sitting out all last year with a couple of different injuries, and until he started playing this season, he'd been off of hockey for almost a year and a half.
I think, Tom, you think this kid is could break loose at any minute.
You know, he's a big kid, and you know, he's just getting his legs and getting back into playing hockey after all the time off. And last year, I thought he was probably going to be one of the better Northern recruits as a freshman, but he didn't play.
Draft choice of the Hartford Whalers this past year as Garrett McDonald sends it toward the net. Didn't get through. Sukharov bounces it off the backboards. Getting there first for Wisconsin was Mark Strobel, and Harding's going to go. And Garrett McDonald and Helgeson exchanging.
Hey, wait, charging!
Blows back at the blue line.
Oh, my. That has to be one of the weaker charging calls I've ever seen. Harding actually let up and kind of went into him. Watch this on the replay. If this is the charge, Brian Ritchie, I'll buy you dinner.
He wasn't even striding. That,
jeez.
I tell you, that makes the Haddon call back in the first period look like
a wicked hit. Brother.
I was under the assumption you had to be skating to get a charge. I've never seen a charge called on Maybe we'll call that one coasting.
13-19, and unbelievable. Maybe he just realizes now he didn't call enough penalties back in the first period.
As the officiating in the WCHA continues to defy logic and rational thought.
I'll tell you what, Northern lost 8-1 at Lake Superior. But that game was probably the best officiated game that I've seen this year is by a CCHA official. Which ought to tell the WCHA a couple of things.
You know, these crackdowns on the rules are supposedly under directive of the NCAA, but you just haven't seen the increase in penalties in the CCHA and out in Hockey East and in the ECAC that you've seen here in the Western Association. Play to the right of Sardiff. McDonald gets it behind his own net for Joe Frederick. 1 minute and 5 seconds remains in the penalty to Harding. Andy Shire flips it in on net, and Buffet will clear it away. Buffet able to clear the zone. 50 seconds now remaining in the penalty. Badger power play 0 for 5 tonight. Jason Zent sent it too far in front of Chris Tucker, and it'll be an icing call against the Badgers.
You know, something's got to happen with the way things are being called in the league this year, and I mean, it's taken away totally from the game, and something just has to change.
Bringing you tonight's game in part, the American Cancer Society. There's nothing mightier than the sword. Don't forget their big New Year's Eve Roaring 20s party out at Marquette Mountain. They'll have a mock casino set up and the core of the Roaring 20s on New Year's Eve. Tickets just a $25 donation for a night of fun and prizes. Buffet had a shot that went off the stick of Balkovec, and now Nelson will play it behind his own goal. Nelson spins away. With 14 seconds remaining, the Badgers doing a pretty good job of killing the Wildcat penalty. Balkovec couldn't handle it as it hopped over his stick. He runs into Hare at the blue line. And Hare tries to return the favor as Harding returns to the ice. Things starting to get a little rougher here in the second period as Chris Nelson fires it back into the corner. 4:27 to go, second period. Cats leading the Badgers 5-1. Dave Dennis along with Tom McCord. Glad to be bringing you Wildcat hockey here on Channel 8. Malone flips it across the blue line and then is taken to the ice by a Helgeson elbow. 2-on-1 for the Badgers. Sardiff with the sliding save on Jamie Spencer. Dallas Drake. Cats have 3 men in the zone, but Harwell was able to get the puck away from the Wildcat center. Helgeson gets the puck out of the Badger zone. Carpenter will turn with it at center ice. For Jimmy Hiller takes a shot. Drake behind the net for Hiller. Harwell missed him. Hiller tried to go in front for Beatty. Too far, and it's taken away by Chris Tucker. Tucker gets to the Wildcat blue line where Carpenter will take it. Carpenter bumped as he sends it around. Drake for Chad Dameworth to Scott Beatty over the Badger blue line. Beatty mugged as he tried to split the defense. And the Badgers take it away.
Tell you, the way Jim Hiller is going tonight, they ought to be looking for him and just let Jimmy keep on pumping him.
Dameworth into the skates of Strobel. And Sardiff will have to cover up as Kelly Fairchild is cruising in.
Sardiff has really been a find early in the season for Northern Michigan. He was expected to contend for playing time, but I don't even think the coaches thought he would play this well this early.
Well, I kind of think the plan coming into the year was to give Rob Krulak every opportunity to win the #1 job, play him Friday night and alternate Sardiff and Welch behind him for the first month or so and pick a #2. But Krulak got shelled in his first and third appearances of the season, and Sardiff has been a standout.
Exactly.
And now Corwin is the #1 goalie, and They're still trying to find number 2.
You know, Krulak played well up at Michigan Tech in the 4-4 tie. I thought despite the 8-1 game at Lake Superior that he also played well. That was a 1-0 game halfway through.
Well, he didn't get any help from his teammates.
No, 0.
Buffet taken to the ice as he crossed the Badger blue line. Hare had a chip at it, and now Plant will take it into the NMU zone. Sukharov running into Plant. It'll be Blaine Moore behind the net. Here comes Tony Szabo. He's got a man to beat. That's Richter. He also has a man with him. That's Phil Sukharov. Sukharov the shot and the save by Dwayne Dirksen. 2 minutes to go, second period. Jason Francisco, he's been a quiet man tonight. Sliding pass in front. No danger there, and we're going to have another call. It'll be an interference.
It's on Northern. 3 in a row now against Northern Michigan. 18-12 the time of this one.
It'll be Phil Sukharov. Badgers will go on the power play for the 6th time tonight. Wildcats scored 3 in the first period. Tony Szabo sandwiched 1 between a pair of Jimmy Hiller goals. Jason Zent tallied for the Wildcats, and here in the second, Hiller picked up the hat trick, and Dallas Drake got his 9th of the year at 2:08, and that's the way it has been. With no scoring since the 2:08 point of this second period. 1:48 to go, 5-1 Wildcats. Badgers control the face-off. Plant had a shot at it, and Joe Frederick got enough of it to send it over the glass. Lots of souvenirs tonight. Upcoming tomorrow night, the Wildcats will battle the Badgers again in Game 2. And you can catch all the action on Bresnan Sports Channel 8 at 11 o'clock. And then following that, our next Wildcat telecast will be in the first weekend of December when St. Cloud comes to Lakeview Arena.
Northern Michigan next weekend out in Colorado again to take on the Tigers of Brad Buteau.
Well, that's something. Back-to-back trips to Colorado. Denver last week, home this week, and back out to the Rocky Mountain State next weekend. Cats having no trouble adjusting to the thinner air last weekend. Balkovec with the shot steered away by Sardif. 1:48 remaining in the Sukharov penalty. Marco Balkovec, the freshman from Port Moody, British Columbia, sends it around behind the net.
Play
and a whistle.
Play whistled offside at the blue line.
Kind of a late whistle for an offside call.
It was. The guy over there on the left blue line was about a stride inside and way ahead of the play. I thought it could have been an icing call, too, from where he shot it from.
Well, from where they're facing it off, it means it was offside. It's one of those that the referee's got to kind of replay in his mind before he blows the whistle.
Well, I think he shot that from his own half of center ice.
Steve Carpenter spinning away from Jason Zent. Tried to get it ahead to Tony Szabo, and the Badgers take over control. Wisconsin taking a lot of time to set up the power play in their own zone. And sometimes when you do that, nasty things can happen. Kurtz got it across the Wildcat blue line. He was bumped by Garrett McDonald. Andy Shire. Puck skips over the stick of Richter at the Wildcat blue line, and Shire will keep it in. Lots of bumping going on and a penalty.
Northern again. Szabo checking from behind.
25 wide, elbowing.
Elbow, take your pick.
Throw the penalty, is in a hat, and draw one out, and that's what we'll call.
I don't know. If you look at this one on a replay, you'll see him come right in behind the guy. This is getting ridiculous. It has been ridiculous.
We'll have another look at it.
Right there, boom, behind. I would think.
He got him with the elbow up around
In the back?
up around the high shoulders. So they made it easy on Brian Ritchie. He could call it in checking from behind or elbowing.
I guess we can.
The way things have been going, he could have probably given him 2 for charging, too.
Yeah.
So the Badgers have a 2-man power play for the next 57 seconds. Only 44 remaining here in the second period. The Badgers are going to make their move. They're going to have to do it on this power play. Dallas Drake, he has 6 career shorthanded goals for the Wildcats. Bounces it off the boards and down to Dwayne Dirksen with 30 seconds. Zent, the sophomore from Cheektowaga, New York, takes the shot. Sardic steers it wide. Comes out to the other side, kind of took a funny carom off the boards.
Good defensive play by Garrett McDonald.
13 seconds now as Zent has the puck. He's bumped off it by his own man. That was Brett Kurtz. Again, the Badgers doing a good job of killing the Wildcat power play. Or penalty, rather. And the clock runs out. With the score, the NMU Wildcats 5 and the Wisconsin Badgers 1.
Let's hear the sound. I need Amman. I need Saudi Arabia.
The air raid sirens are just now going off here near these U.S. bases in Saudi Arabia. We sent the entire camera crew
Back here.
inside.
I wonder if you could tell us.
Where would coverage of the Gulf War have been without cable? Cable companies like yours have paid more than $1 billion to CNN so you can get comprehensive news 24 hours a day.
The liberation of Kuwait has begun.
Cable contributes to life.
Not the way to get to camp. And that's not. Here's the way in a new Geo Tracker from Fry Chevrolet Geo in Marquette.
It's the lowest price four-wheel drive you can buy. We've got 15 in stock. You can buy one starting at $269 a month. You can lease one as low as $249 a month. We've got 15 in stock. See us now for low-cost four-wheel fun.
Tracker at Fry Chevrolet Geo in Marquette.
After 2 periods of play, the NMU Wildcats lead the Wisconsin Badgers by a score of 5-1 here at Lakeview Arena. The Cats picking up a couple of goals in the second period to add to their lead. Hi again, Dave Danis along with Tom McCord. And Tom, that was a typical game, what's been a typical game for the WCHA this year. 10 penalties whistled in that second period.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't want to get off onto a big thing again about the officiating, but the way they're calling the hockey games this year is just ridiculous, and that's all I'm going to say about it.
And you've got some agreement here on that one. Shots in the second period. The Badgers had 13. Corwin Sardiff stopped them all. He's got a game total of 18 saves. Meanwhile, the NMU Wildcats only had 6 shots on goal, but 2 of them got by Dwayne Dirksen.
Well, early in the period when Northern Michigan got the 2 quick goals to go up 5-1, it wouldn't have surprised me one bit if Coach Jeff Sauer would have pulled Dirksen just to give his team a wake-up call. Maybe they got it without pulling Dirksen. They came on towards the end of the period probably dominate the action over the last half. But Sardiff, what can you say about the guy? For a freshman coming into the WCHA, he's just been outstanding so far this season.
Well, I tell you, in that second period, he was good and he was lucky. And if you got both of those going for you, that's what happens. Wisconsin defense, though, really picked up their tempo after the second goal in the period, doing a much better job of not allowing second and third shots at Dwayne Dirksen.
Yeah, well, they pretty much cut Northern off after the first 5 or 6 minutes. But, you know, the penalties, all the penalty calls in that period, I thought took all of Northern right out of the game as far as their offensive threats in the zone. You know, you look at the number of power plays they had in that second period. Wisconsin, when third period action starts, will be on their 5th power play in the second period.
Wow.
That's 10 minutes, you know.
Penalties at 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 13, 18, and 19 minutes of the period. We'll take a timeout and be back with more after this. It's the Wildcats 5 and the Badgers 1 after 2.
Do you find yourself in a food rut? Well, get out of a rut with Togo Subs. Togo's has over 40 varieties of subs, hot or cold, all on white or whole wheat bread, baked 7 days a week right in their own bakery. Everybody's got their favorite Togos. Why not come out and try to find your favorite? It may take all year, but think of the fun you'll have. Togo Subs, fast, friendly service for an inexpensive meal in itself. Togo's now with 2 locations, Marquette and their new store in Harvey.
Hi, I'm Neil Jandrin.
And I'm Kathy Jandrin. And we'd like to welcome you to Marquette's most complete jewelry store, Jandrin's Fine Jewelry.
At Jandrin's, we have the largest selection of stone rings in Upper Michigan, gold chains priced by gram weight, a great inventory of diamonds over 1 carat, and we're the area's only Swarovski crystal dealer.
And Jandrin's also has in-store watch and jewelry repair, along with engraving.
So for beautiful jewelry at a price you can always afford, come to Marquette's most complete jewelry store, Jandrin's Fine Jewelry in the Westwood Mall, Marquette.
Welcome back to Lakeview Arena. After 2 periods, the NMU Wildcats lead the Wisconsin Badgers by a score of 5-1. Hi again, everybody. Dave Dennis along with Tom McCord for Bresnan Sports. Tom, the Wildcats definitely improved in the beginning of that period, but between the penalties and the improved play of the Badgers kind of neutralized the Wildcat offense for the last 17 minutes of that period.
Well, Northern Michigan, Dave, threatened to make it a runaway early in that period, jumping on Wisconsin for 2 quick goals to make it 5-1. Then Wisconsin taking a penalty, and right then, if Northern Michigan would have put it in the net, it would have been a very long, long night. It's already been a long one for Wisconsin, but it would have been a lot longer.
Taking a look at the goal-scoring summary for that second period, Jimmy Hiller got himself the hat trick at 1:19 of the period. Phil Sukharoff drawing the assist, and then Dallas Drake from Frederick and Rojo at 2:08. Nice goal for Dallas Drake. He was left all alone.
Well, Frederick made the play charging around the outside, and, you know, where was the defense? That's the major question I'm sure that Jeff Sauer has in his mind. But the goal for Hiller, his hat trick goal, that was his first ever hat trick at Northern Michigan.
Hiller now with 12 goals on the season, as we mentioned earlier. Coming off that separated shoulder, he had, I believe, 8 points last weekend. And he's already got 3 points, 3 goals so far here tonight.
Well, I'm not sure that he's off that separated shoulder yet, but he sure is playing very well. Dwayne Dirksen doing a little housework down around the Wisconsin goal area.
NMU women's basketball team opens their season tomorrow afternoon on Saturday, November 23rd at the Hedgecock Fieldhouse. They'll be taking on Wisconsin Parkside at 1 o'clock, and then the men will open it up at 3 against Michigan Dearborn. And I know Dean Ellis is glad to have Dan Beadle back in his backcourt this season.
Oh, he is back, eh?
He is back after spending a year in the Toronto Blue Jays organization.
Should be interesting to see what both teams will open the season with. Mike Geary's women losing Lisa Jamula from last year's team, and that was a big loss. But Deanna Sutton should be one of the better, taller ladies in the league this year.
And to pick up some of the slack left by Lisa's graduation, her sister Wendy will be entering her sophomore year, and she averaged almost 10 points a game last year.
And it'll be interesting to see what Marquette's Beth Blake can contribute to the cause of the Northern Michigan women. Of course, Beth's daddy, Joe Blake, the voice of Wildcat hockey on WMQT.
We are just about set to begin the third period as we get back to WCHA hockey action with the play-by-play. Here's Tom McCord.
Brett Kurtz in center ice. The Wildcats will be 2 men short to start this third period of action. 8 seconds left in Phil Sukharoff's minor penalty. Dallas Drake tries to whip it up the far side boards, can't connect on it. Held in at the blue line by Richter. Richter's shot knocked down in the skates of McDonald. A save by Sarduff, and the net comes off the moorings as the Wildcats' first penalty to Sukharoff has expired.
57 seconds, though, still in the Wisconsin power play. We saw things get quite aggressive at times in the second period, although we didn't have any full-blown fights. And that continues here early in the third.
Well, some of the most aggressive things were the penalties that probably shouldn't have been, as far as I'm concerned.
One thing you might want to watch is if the Badgers continue to get frustrated like that by Corwin Sarduff, we'll see what happens come the last 5 minutes of the hockey game.
Kurtz, Zent, and Blaine Moore up front for Jeff Sauer's Badgers. This is Richter in center ice. Off to Brett Kurtz. He dumps it over the Wildcat line, right back out into center ice. Back into the Wildcat zone for Andy Shire. Along the far side boards, Kurtz back in behind the goal. Shire, near side corner. Tries to hit Richter back at the blue line, and that puck all the way back into the Wisconsin zone. 25 seconds left in Tony Zabo's minor. Kurtz backing over the Wildcat line. Spun around there by Garrett McDonald. Loose puck near side corner. Phil Sukharov will be the first person there. Held in by Richter. And Sukharov, though, recovering, taking it away from Shire back to neutral ice. 5 seconds left in Zabo's minor penalty. The Badgers with Shire holding the zone. Zent tries a centering pass. Sukharov intercepts that. Wildcats back at full strength. Big boost for the Cats, killing off that two-man disadvantage here to start the third period. In behind his own goal is Balkovic. Center ice pass. On the move in over the Northern Michigan line, Dan Plant put himself offside, and the face-off back into center ice.
Oh, it's kind of a tough thing to do, to put yourself offside, but Plant was going in and kind of had the puck bounce off his skate and come back out, and he was still in the zone and has it whistled down. Freshman defenseman Jason Hare, Wildcat of the Week a couple weeks ago. Last week, the Wildcats of the Week were Scott Beatty and Joe Frederick, who coincidentally were sat down for the last portion of the Lake Superior game, spent it in the locker room, and Rick Conley commented today at the Wildcat luncheon what good a period in the locker room will do.
Play back into the Wisconsin zone. Loose puck in behind his own cage. Shot up the far side boards. Out into center ice, and play whistled down. And what do we got? Icing call?
That's what it would appear as they bring it back to the left side of the Wildcat net. Badger defenseman Chris Nelson from Los Angeles, California, played high school hockey downstate in the Detroit area at Cranbrook.
The ice has got to seem a little crowded right now for Northern Michigan. They haven't had 5 people out there in a long time. Face off to the left side of freshman Sarduff in the Northern Michigan goal. Scott Beatty and Jamie Spencer, the freshman from Carmel, Indiana, on the face-off. Who lives in Carmel?
No one that I know.
I thought some famous actor lived in Carmel, and I can't place it.
That's Carmel, California.
There you go. Wrong state. Doesn't play hockey either, I don't think.
Clint Eastwood, no.
Probably be a good defenseman, though. Puck cleared all the way back into the Wisconsin zone. Another icing call on Northern Michigan. And the play will come back to the Northern Michigan zone.
You're talking about Rick commenting that period in the locker room did wonders for Beatty and Joe Frederick last week. Rick was saying he wished he could have been in the locker room for that third period of the Saturday night game at Lake Superior.
Well, I don't know. The person I wouldn't have wanted to be was Dan Rojo, and I don't know why he was taken out of the penalty box and sent to the locker room, but if he was hurt or what, but that made 3. Face off, controlled by the Badgers. That was a long ride back from the Sioux, I'll tell you that. Loose puck to Jason Hare. Hare moves it straight up the middle for Hiller. Over the line. Hiller centering pass, looking for Dallas Drake, a little bit led too far. And the loose puck comes to Helgeson. Back out into center ice. Badgers backing over the Northern Michigan line with Spencer. Bumped off the play there by Dameworth. Sarduff steers away the shot. Loose puck comes to Scott Beatty. Beatty's pass off the skate of the Wisconsin defenseman Balkovic. Loose puck to Jimmy Hiller. Hiller turns in his own zone. Off the skate of Drake, right back into the Northern Michigan zone by Fairchild. Fairchild steps around Dameworth. Centering attempt. Nice play by Jason Hare to break that one up. Right out front of the goal, and failing to convert the tip-in was Fairchild. No one near Fairchild that time. There's a check from behind in front of the goal, and no penalty coming there as Dameworth leveled his man. Loose puck right in front of the goal, still bouncing away. Sarduff knocks down the shot. From the blue line of drive, and getting in front of that one was Jim Hiller. Wisconsin player down to the side of the goal. Penalty call coming up on Northern Michigan. And down on his hands and knees is Fairchild. And I was surprised he got up the first time when he got cross-checked by Dameworth.
Well, he got up and made it about a step and a half and went back to the rink. I don't know if we'll be able to take a look at it on the replay. And it appears we won't, as the Wisconsin trainers called out on the ice. Fairchild took a couple of blows.
Running discussion going off the ice with Mike Strobel and Scott Beatty.
Hare will go off for interference for knocking down Kelly Fairchild behind the play. 11th penalty called on the Wildcats tonight.
2 minutes for interference. Time of the penalty, 3:25. Fair for interference.
Badgers right now, no matter how much confusion there is around the Wildcat goal, and Corwin Sardup just can't seem to buy anything. That's got to be even more frustrating when the puck's sitting there and you can't whack it in.
Coming up tomorrow night at 11 o'clock, you can see the replay of game number 2 between the Badgers and the Wildcats from Lakeview Arena. Hopefully the Cats will be looking to make it 6 in a row against the University of Wisconsin. And should the Cats sweep this weekend, that would be the longest winning streak between these two teams. The Badgers currently have the longest at 5 games. The Wildcats could tie that should they hold on and win here tonight.
Second and third power play opportunities here in the third period for Wisconsin. Of course, the first two a carryover from period number 2. Puck all the way back into the Wisconsin zone, and Barry Richter. Drop pass picked up by Blaine Moore up the far side boards. On the move in over the line is Kurtz. Coming out of the goal is Sardup, and he clears that all the way back to the Wisconsin line.
He gambled and won there.
Blaine Moore turns it back the other way. Richter picks it up in his own zone. He'll try and skate it out in the center ice. Lead pass for Zent in over the Northern Michigan line. Sardup again. Pass knocked down by Zent. Centering attempt there for Moore too far. Cats cleared up the far side boards. McDonald held in at the line by Wisconsin Shire. Snap shot from the blue line, and that goes wide. And once again, the net gets pushed off the moorings as Blaine Moore got pushed into the goal crease that time.
Brett Kurtz also in there exchanging blows with Phil Sukharoff. Sponsoring tonight's game in part, Auto Works of Marquette, selling and servicing Audi, Volkswagen, Porsche, BMW, and Mercedes-Benz. Michigan Tech leading North Dakota 1-0 in the first period up in Hope.
I tell you, Newell Brown's got the Tech team rolling this year. They had 2 tough games down at Dane County 2 weekends ago against the Badgers, and Newell, of course, picking up a minor reprimand from the WCHA for his comments about the overtime loss on Friday night. Still a minute 5 left in Hare's minor penalty. Badgers on the power play. Failing to hold it in at the blue line. Here's a 2-man breakout. Frederick and Drake. Frederick in over the Wisconsin line. Snaps one, and that got deflected up over the top of Dirksen. Good defensive play that time by the back checker, Chris Nelson. Right back to Frederick. Snaps another one, and Dirksen knocks that one down. Check from behind. Nelson's going to pick up a penalty now.
And Frederick's hurt. Getting up very slowly.
I think maybe Joe that time was trying to draw more than 2.
Tell you, Joey Frederick's been playing really well. And here he gets taken in by Chris Nelson. And taken in hard. And the Wildcats now will play 4-on-4 for the next 47 seconds. And then go on another power play.
Wildcats with the only power play goal of the night tonight. That came back in the second period.
2 minutes before the time of the penalty, 4:38 Nelson for Ford.
And it came off the stick of Jim Hiller. Lou Malone going to head across to the Wildcat locker room. He's taken a couple of pops tonight. Mark Stosner escorting Lou across the ice. Hope that's nothing serious. Going sans the gloves and stick was Lou Malone. Badgers break out 2-on-1. Richter going to cruise and score!
Richter cruising in. He had another man with him. Decided to take the shot and got it between the legs of Corwin Sardup.
26.
It's Rick Comley's turn to ask where the defense was that time as Steve Carpenter was trapped up ice.
For Barry Richter, his third goal of the season. And it cuts the Wildcat lead to 5-2.
Back in his own zones from the face-off is Garrett McDonald, puts on the brakes. Clears it off the back of the goal. Loose puck. Centering pass out front. Sardif the save there. Big save there. And trying to one-time it was Blaine Moore, and Sardif got the big pads down on top of that one.
Blaine Moore drawing an assist on the Richter goal, as did Brian Rafalski. And you got to be careful with these Wisconsin Badgers. You don't want to give them too much momentum. Another quick goal, and things could get pretty interesting in the remainder of the third period.
Still 28 seconds left in Jason Hare's minor penalty. A minute 41 left in the penalty time on Andy Shire. Scott Beatty and Blaine Moore from Kitimat, British Columbia, on the face-off. Richter a shot that went off his own player, Moore. Held in at the far side by Rafalski. Taken by Sukharov, dumped back. Moore first person there, back to the blue line, and Richter around the outside of Daymore. Centering pass right through the skates of Beatty. Intended for Moore. Wildcats will try and punch it out of their own zone as Phil Sukharov picks it up. Long lead pass up for Hiller off his skate. Wildcats right now are back at full strength and have the power play advantage. Scott Beatty, nice job to hold it in the first time. Taken away by Plant of Wisconsin, trying to bust around Hare, who hauls him down. Surprisingly, no penalty call there on Northern Michigan, the way the game's been going tonight.
I was just about to say the same thing.
Dallas Drake backing over the Wisconsin line. Dumps it down around behind the goal area. Hiller's centering attempt. Comes out into center ice. Hare back at the red line. 40 seconds left in the man advantage. Drake for Hiller. Snaps it right on. And going down was Dirksen. Caught it around the blocker area. Cleared down the ice by Wisconsin, and Sardif will leave it for Mark Buffet. Catch change up front as McGilvery comes on for Northern Michigan, takes the pass in center ice, clears it down into the Wisconsin zone. McGilvery, first person back there, bumped off the play by Harwell. Loose puck held in by Ripplinger. Drop pass, Gans winds it up and shot it wide. Far side, Scott will make that Ripplinger. Badgers back at full strength. Clearing pass up ice. Nelson streaking after it. Sukharov, though, beats into the loose puck and turns it back up ice for NMU. Sukharov busting down into the Badger zone. Pokes it around in behind the cage for Brian Gans. Gans in the circle has it stripped and taken away by Wisconsin. And the Badgers with Fairchild dump it down into the Northern Michigan zone. Carpenter bothering his man there. Coming away with the loose puck is number 19, Steve Carpenter. Clearing pass for McGilvery. McGilvery's just going to throw it up ice, and coming out of the goal to forward that is Dirksen. And a penalty call coming up again on Northern Michigan. Checking from behind or interference. Take your pick, and they call it checking from behind.
And Carpenter's got something to say on that one. Now, whether it's to Brian Ritchie or it's to
checking
Kelly
from
Fairchild.
behind.
Whether Carpenter was having something to say to Brian Ritchie or to Kelly Fairchild, can't be certain, but whatever it is, this year you'd better get your butt in the penalty box and shut your mouth, or you're going to draw another 2 for delay. It'll be the 9th power play opportunity for the Badgers, 0 for 8 so far. The Wildcats are just 1 for 6 with the extra man.
I'm not sure if Ritchie's got delay in his vocabulary. He's delaying the game enough as it is already. Badgers on the power play. A drive from the blue line, and Sardif grabs that chest high and hangs on. Penalize the officials.
Well, all I can add to that is that if you're, and it's not necessarily associated with the recent call, but if you're going to call something, call it every time and call it consistently. If you're not going to call it, don't ever call it, and be consistent with that. It's okay if you're bad as long as you're consistent.
Exactly.
3,784 here at Lakeview Arena. It had been listed as a sellout, but probably a few people out at hunting camp accounting for 150 or 200 empty seats.
Well, they better get it in before the snow starts to fly this weekend. Loose puck in the Northern Michigan zone. Shire back to the blue line. Shire again, far side boards. Back for Moore. Richter from the blue line, his shot deflected away. Sukharov picks up the loose puck and serves it back out into center ice. Badgers right back in over the line with Jason Zent. Tries a cross-ice pass, intercepted by Garrett McDonald, and he'll clear it the length of the ice for Northern Michigan. Jason Hare, Dame Worth, Mark Buffet, and Tony Szabo on the penalty kill. Puck right to Sarduff at the Wildcat goal crease, and he's going to hang on to that one. Face off deep in Northern Michigan zone.
Mark Buffet, a supplemental draft choice of the San Jose Sharks. Good season so far for Buffet. 9 goals and 8 assists so far this year. Check that, 7 assists, 16 points. Wildcats will be at Colorado College next weekend, Friday and Saturday out in Colorado Springs. And if you can't make the trip, you can catch all the action on the radio on Q107.
Puck back deep into the Wisconsin zone. Badgers still on the power play for 55 seconds. Back into the Northern Michigan zone. Plant being hooked there by Szabo. Back to the blue line for Balkovic. Loose puck in front of the goal. Quick shot off the post. Rebound is shot wide. Good opportunity there for Helgeson, and he just plain out missed it. Helgeson again winds it up. Quick shot right on, and going down to make the save was Sarduff. Held at the blue line. Loose puck to the side of the Northern Michigan goal, and he's going to hang on to that one.
Well, I tell you, the story in the first half of this game had been the Wildcat offense lighting it up for 5 goals, and in the second half of this game, it's been Corwin Sarduff, as he's been equal to just about everything the Badgers can throw at him. There you see the attempt by Tucker. Sarduff standing his ground.
Brett Kurtz and Dallas Drake on the face-off. Drake out with Sukharov, McGilvery, and Garrett McDonald for Northern Michigan. Kurtz along with Shire and Jason Zent up front for Jeff Sauer's Badgers. Quick shot from the face-off right on, and the save made on the rebound by Sarduff as Zent had the opportunity. Lane Moore holds. Turned into the corner by Brett Kurtz. Back to Moore, back to the blue line. Richter for Moore, down low for Kurtz. Cross ice right in front of the goal. Zent had it roll off the blade of his stick. Northern Michigan back at full strength. Badgers controlling Kurtz's shot. And that's knocked down nicely by Garrett McDonald. And the play is whistled down for a face-off.
Well, I tell you, looking at the second period shot chart, Corwin Sarduff had 6 saves from the area right between the face-off circles and in the crease area. And he might have that many already here in the third period.
10:34 left in regulation play. Badgers trailing Northern Michigan by 3 at 5-2. Wisconsin with the lone goal here in the third period by Barry Richter. Fairchild and Beatty, controlled by Dameworth momentarily up the boards and back into center ice. Ryan Gans up front along with Beatty and Jim Hiller on this combination. Center ice for Scott Beatty. Clearing down into the Badgers zone. Bounces over the stick of Dirksen. Hiller first person there for Northern Michigan. Jim Hiller out to the side of the goal. That's poked away from Scott Beatty. Good defensive play by Joe Harwell, who's had a couple this evening. Badgers with Fairchild move it back. Hare intercepts that across ice to Dameworth. Brian Gans clears into the zone. Wildcats a lap for a change. Hiller bumping in the corner, comes away with the puck the first time, has it poked away again. And back up ice for Wisconsin comes Strobel. Mike Strobel can't control it in the Wildcat zone. Cats throw it down the ice. That'll be an icing call on NMU.
9:37 to go, 5-2 Wildcats. The Cats took a 3-1 lead after 1, 5-1 after 2. Barry Richter for Wisconsin, the only goal here in period number 3. Bringing you tonight's game in part, Fry Chevrolet. Make every day a Friday.
Jamie Spencer and freshman Brent Ripplinger for Northern Michigan will take this face-off. Ripplinger from Williams Lake, BC, one of two Wildcats from Williams Lake, the other being Steve Carpenter. Face-off up over the glass and into the end crowd. Try it one more time.
Tell you, sometimes it's a dangerous area to be sitting up in that mezzanine.
Couldn't pay me to sit up there.
Some members, I believe, of the Marquette Electricians.
Scott Beatty and Jamie Spencer. Puck loose in behind the Wildcat goal area. Garrett McDonald falling to his knees, pokes it up ice. Thrown back out into center ice, picked up there by Balkovic. Balkovic from Port Moody, British Columbia, has looked pretty good for a freshman out there this evening. Big kid. Play still loose in the Wisconsin zone. Cross ice pass for Jim Hiller. Thrown down around in behind the Wisconsin goal. Dallas Drake back up front with Hiller and Beatty. Loose puck taken by the Badgers, intercepted in center ice, cleared right back into the Wisconsin zone by Garrett McDonald. Chris Nelson in behind his own cage. Nelson, another big defenseman at 6'2", clearing through center ice. A long blast wide of the goal. That taken by Helgeson. And he and Carpenter do a little jousting at the blue line. Back in over the Northern Michigan line for Blaine Moore. Drop pass for Plant into the far side corner. Leaned down there a little bit by Chad Dameworth, taken by Brent Ripplinger. Up the boards for Frederick. Center ice too far for Dan Rojo. That'll go far enough for an icing call, and the play will come 200 feet back towards the lake into the Northern Michigan zone.
Dan Rojo, one of two Madison natives on the Wildcat squad, probably grew up wearing red and white sweaters in support of the hometown Badgers. And there you see the other one, number 33, Joe Frederick. Nice write-up in the Milwaukee Sentinel this week on Joe Frederick. He had, asked his buddy Joe Harwell, who plays for the Badgers, what it was like winning the national championship after the Badgers won it in 1990, and Harwell said it was unbelievable. And Joe Frederick was able to tell him this summer that it was indeed.
Richter's clearing pass, knocked back by Mark Buffet. Buffet still battling for the puck along the far side boards. Taken to the ice by the Badger player Brett Kurtz. Szabo bumping down behind the goal area. And Wisconsin will come away with the puck. Richter's pass into center ice off the blade of the stick of Kurtz into the Northern Michigan zone. Steve Carpenter clears it around the far side for Mike Harding. Harding's pass for Szabo in center ice. Tony Szabo one-on-one. Good defensive play that time by Mark Strobel, the twin brother of Mike. How they got these guys out of the state of Minnesota, you have to wonder. Loose puck along the far side. Jason Francisco can't control it. Jimmy Hiller rifles it right back in. 7:05 left in regulation play. Drake intercepts it, has it taken right back by Francisco. McDonald returns the favor, dumps it back into Badgerland. Far side corner, Harwell. Dumps up ice into the Northern Michigan zone. Sukharov has to hustle back as Jason Zent was charging down. Sukharov lost the edge on his skate. Sardiff controls in behind his own goal for number 8, Phil Sukharov. For Scott Beatty up the far side boards for Drake. Cats can't control it again. Loose disc in center ice, picked up and cleared into the Badger zone by Joe Frederick. And Dirksen plays that one. Balkovic leveled at the blue line by Frederick was Mike Strobel. Loose puck back into the Badger zone. Frederick in behind the cage, centering pass knocked away. Dirksen will come out of his goal, clear it up the near side boards. Jason Harrell pinch in and hold that one. A blast from the blue line, and that just missed on the far side. Dameworth holds at the blue line. Brian Gans down into the corner for Billy McGilvery. McGilvery for Frederick. Dump pass back in behind the goal. Dirksen again out of the cage. Bumped a little bit there by Brian Gans. No call coming. Badgers back in offside as ahead of the play was Fairchild.
You know, you mentioned the Strobels as Minnesota natives. The Badgers also have a few others. John Michelizzi, their backup goaltender, defenseman Joe Harwell, and also Kelly Fairchild and Chris Tucker and Jason Francisco, all Minnesota natives. Now, I know it might be possible to get somebody by Craig Dahl at St. Cloud or Mike Sertich at Duluth, but to get them by those two and Doug Woog at Minnesota is quite an accomplishment.
Well, I don't know if they'd have to get them by all three, but you know, when you talk about college hockey in the state of Minnesota, I would think, aside from Minnesota, Wisconsin very highly respected as a top college hockey power, and I'm sure that had something to do with it. Badgers hold it in at the Northern Michigan blue line. Loose puck into the near side corner. Sukharov battles for it there. Badgers control it momentarily, but Buffet comes away. Pass for Zabo, brought back in over the line offside by Buffet, and we're down to 5:15 left in regulation play.
Take a look at some of the Wildcats there. Steve Carpenter and Jason Hare. A couple of British Columbia products. Hare from Kelowna, leading scoring freshman on the team with 7 points, 2 goals, and 5 assists.
He's another freshman that's played well for Rick Conley's Cats so far this season. Loose puck right at the Northern Michigan blue line. Moore battles for it, can't control it. Clearing it back to his own blue line is Rafalski. Long lead pass too far. That rolls right in on Sarif for Steve Carpenter. Carpenter takes a look, skates it out for Northern Michigan up the right side or left side for Drake. Lead pass for Hiller over his stick. And the Badgers regained in center ice, taken away by Hare. Scott Beatty bumped off the play right at the Wisconsin blue line, being held a little bit there by Blaine Moore. Beatty holds at the blue line, dumps it down for Hiller too far. Barry Richter in behind his own cage. Back the other way comes Rafalski. Center ice on the move is Brett Kurtz. Long shot from there, high over top of the Cat goal. Dan Plant along the far side boards. Bumped there by Carpenter. Northern Michigan trying to clear the zone. Beatty didn't see the pass. Drake Helwer skates it. Second effort, gets it back to the blue line. Plant winds it up, bands on it, and the Cats will finally get it out of their own zone. Penalty coming up now on Wisconsin. Don't mean to sound facetious there on Wisconsin, but the Badgers will be heading into the penalty box.
And that'll be Jason Zent. No, check that, number 18, Jamie Spencer. Wildcats are 1 for 6 on the power play tonight. This will be their 7th and their 2nd of the period. 16 minutes even, the time of the call.
I don't even think I know the words to On Wisconsin.
I don't.
I could hum it for you. But I think we'll pass on that. We've played 16 minutes here in the third period. Wildcats still leading by 3 at 5-2 and are currently on the power play. McDonald and Carpenter back on the blue line. Penalty call coming up. That was a short one. Interference to call on Northern Michigan, and that'll even it up.
Mike Harding makes his 2nd trip to the penalty box at 16:07. So a 7-second Wildcat power play. We'll take another look at it and see where it comes. You got to be kidding me. Two players just jostling a little at the blue line. One falls off balance, the other one goes.
Back into the Wisconsin zone. Zabo going after it, far side boards, tipped out in the center ice by Zent. Jason Zent, who had an outstanding freshman year last year for Wisconsin. Long blast taken there by the Badger player Chris Nelson, and Sarduff had to be alert. Mark Buffet in center ice. Failed to get around Balkovic. Loose puck taken by Chris Nelson. Nelson wheels it back into the Wildcat zone. Overskates it, but kicks it into the far side corner where it's taken by Phil Sukarov. Sukarov, lead pass for Frederick too far. Frederick, though, picks it up, snaps a shot, and that got knocked down by Dwayne Dirksen. Puck still loosened behind the goal, and Balkovic comes away. Clears it up the boards. Rafalski's pass in center ice. A sandwich made there of Brett Kurtz. Loose puck taken by Dallas Drake. Drake tripped at the blue line. Another penalty call coming up. And mercifully, only 2:42 left in regulation play.
Blaine Moore going off for the infraction. We'll see it here. As Dallas Drake fell over his stick. Power play number 8 for the Wildcats. 42 seconds remains in the penalty dispenser, 49 in the Harding minor.
I'll tell you, if I was a WCHA coach, I would be screaming bloody murder. And actually, I think the fans should be too, because it's just completely taken the game out of the players' hands.
I tell you, Newell Brown had something to say about Chick Yackel down in the Dane County Coliseum a couple weeks ago when they got penalties called in overtime both nights. And it's just amazing.
Well, knowing Newell Brown, I'm sure it was more than one complete sentence. Newell, as we pointed out a couple of times, has done an excellent job putting that Husky program back together. And when you go down to Wisconsin's building and play them as tough as Michigan Tech did, to have 2 penalties called against your team in overtime, I think I would have been a little upset also.
One of our sponsors for tonight's game, Jandren's Fine Jewelers in the Westwood Mall. To get back to Newell Brown, he's not normally a real volatile type of guy. And from reports I heard out of Madison, he basically wanted to separate Chick Yackel from his skin.
Puck loose in the Wisconsin zone, cleared up the far side boards. Jason Hare can't get there in time, picks it up in center ice. Cats with a power play advantage. They have 1 goal with the extra man tonight. Across to Jim Hiller. Hiller's got 3, back to Hare, to Hiller. Can't control it in the skates to Jason Hare. Full strength opportunity, a quick shot, and Dirksen got in the way of that one. Loose puck again, that went off the goalpost as Dallas Drake had a shot at it. Cats once again on the power play as they were 4-on-4 momentarily. Dallas Drake back to center ice. Drake on the backhand, throws it around in behind the Badger cage. Balkovic reverses it back. Richter rifles it up the boards, and that comes all the way back out in the center ice. Sukarov at his own blue line. 43 seconds left with the extra man for Northern Michigan. Chris Nelson bumped along the far side by Mark Harding. Back to the blue line, held there by Sukarov. Down low, Zabo winds it up right on, and Dirksen the save. Rebound for Tony. Another save by Dirksen with the skate. 2 of his better saves of the hockey game, and the Badgers clear it all the way back into the Northern Michigan zone. Under a minute to go in the hockey game. 5-2, Northern Michigan has this one wrapped up, and another penalty call. Got to get one last one in here before regulation play ends, and it'll be a hold.
Our producer and director for tonight's hockey game has been Gavin LeMade. Running cameras, Deb Poyer and Mike Bath, along with Dave Chard and John Grove. Lance Carter on the replay. And graphics and engineering done by Dick Strauss. Thanks, guys and girls. Nice job once again. Statistical help also coming from Justin Doherty and his staff in the NMU Sports Information Department. And also thanks going out to the athletic department at NMU.
Well, you might as well toss Judy Kluge into that too from Wisconsin. Hockey SID brought us up to date on all the Badger statistics. Nice press guide they put together, but tell you, another guy who did a nice job with the press guide this year, and I know we mentioned it once earlier this year, was Justin Doherty with Northern Michigan.
One of the Wisconsin writers said to me last night that Doherty's the best, bar none.
Is he sending you a check for that?
I would hope so.
Play loose at the Northern Michigan blue line. Steve Carpenter picks it up, rips it around the far side. That'll come all the way back into the Wisconsin zone. Chased there by Richter. Badgers back at full strength. 40 seconds to play in the hockey game. Out of his own zone come the Badgers with Andy Shire clearing into the Northern Michigan zone. Jason Zent has it in the skates, around in behind the cage. Zent on a backhand. Puck back to the blue line, held there by Barry Richter. Loose puck, Shire. Interfered with a little bit there by Carpenter. Everybody seems a little bit tentative now. Nobody wants to finish the game in the penalty box. Another penalty call coming up. 9 seconds to go. Don't give them the puck, Wisconsin. Let's end this thing right now. Oh, but we can't make it through. 4 seconds to go. And another penalty call on Northern Michigan.
And it'll be Joe Frederick for a high stick. Hey, who knows? We could have more called before this one's all over. There's still 4 seconds to play.
Plenty of time. Well, let's see here. We've got a 5-on-3 Wisconsin power play. Let's win the faceoff and get on out of here.
Surprisingly, we're only at about 2.5 hours for playing time.
By the time they drop this puck, we might be the last people in here. Loose puck from the faceoff. Shire a shot right on, and the hockey game is over as Cardiff made the save. And the Wildcats have a 3-goal victory here on Friday night. The final score is the Wildcats congratulate freshman Corwin Sardiff, Northern Michigan 5, and the Wisconsin Badgers 2. We'll be back to recap the hockey game after this timeout on Bresnan's Channel 8.
They call this the information age and use the computer as its symbol. The old symbol is still pretty powerful, though. The telephone is everywhere. There are wires. And now, in a lot of places, there are no wires, even in the UP. Supercom suggests you bring a couple of symbols together and make a bit of noise. Get your information out there where there are no wires, quickly, reliably, and with a Motorola pager in Supercom service. Get your information out there where it belongs before it's history.
AutoWorks of Marquette takes control, featuring the finest German automotive sales and service in northern Michigan. AutoWorks features Porsche, Volkswagen, BMW, Mercedes, and the four-wheel drive Audi 4 and 5000 S Quattro. If you've always wanted the outstanding quality of German engineering, now's the time to check out AutoWorks in Marquette. And remember to register to win tickets to see the defending national champion hockey Wildcats at Marquette's only German service and sales outlet, AutoWorks.
Welcome back to Lakeview Arena. The Wildcats have defeated the Wisconsin Badgers by a score of 5-2. Cats had a 3-1 lead after one. It was 5-1 after two, and just one goal for the Badgers in the third period as the defenses really took over.
Well,
or the goaltenders, we should say.
Goaltenders and the scorekeepers, because there was a lot of traffic in the third period headed towards the penalty box, and that's it. I'm not going to say another word about it.
I'm going to check and see if there's a rut worn in the ice between the respective zones in the penalty box. 15 penalties whistled on the Wildcats, 11 on the Badgers tonight for a total of 26.
Dominating the score sheet.
We'll take a look at the scoring summary. The Cats got off 1-0 in the first period on a goal by Jim Hiller, his 10th of the season, from Scott Beatty and Chad Dameworth at 5:08. The Badgers came right back 32 seconds later. Zent from Tucker and Francisco.
Well, a breakdown of the Northern Michigan defense let Jason Zent right through, and you know, you can't let people cruising on your goaltender and have free pops like that, and they had a couple of them this evening, and the Wildcats lucky that that's really the only goal they had off one of those situations.
Tony Zabo from Mark Buffet at 7:09. Zabo Only his third goal of the year. He had 39 last year, but I think he's starting to break out of it. He had one last weekend against Denver, one tonight, and he had a couple more real good scoring opportunities.
Well, Szabo is one of the people that Northern Michigan is going to need down the stretch if they're to contend for the WCHA title again, and I think they will, but they've got to get 25 going on the score sheet.
8:01, Jim Hiller, his second of the game from Scott Beatty, and that gave the Wildcats a 3-1 lead after one period of play. In the second period, Hiller got it started right away, his 12th of the year on the power play from Beatty and Sukharov.
Well, Hiller has got to be banged up. He's got to be hurting, and yet he's playing the best of any of the Wildcat forwards, and you have to wonder if he'd be doing any better if he was healthy.
And then Dallas Drake at 2:08 from Frederick and Dan Rojo. Joe Frederick kind of running a little interference, allowing Dallas Drake to split in between the defense and take the pass.
Well, Frederick made the nice play, and Drake's another fellow who's just been having an outstanding season so far, and he put it home. That was his 8th goal of the season.
Just one goal in the third period. Barry Richter of the Wisconsin Badgers at 4:45 from Falski and Moore. Richter just all alone in the zone, and Corwin Sardif didn't have much help on this one.
First of all, I think I said 8th goal for Drake. That was his 9th, and in the third period, Richter was just allowed to come right down, and I believe up ice, Steve Carpenter got trapped, and once again they cruised right in on Sardif, and Richter made no mistake as he beat Sardif for the second Wisconsin goal.
12 saves in the third period for Corwin Sardif, a total of 30 on the game, 10 for Dwayne Dirksen, a total of 24. Both teams had a lot of high-quality shots from in that area between the face-off circles.
Well, both teams had high-quality shots. Northern Michigan, though, capitalizing back in the first period and early in the second on a lot of their scoring opportunities. And I was kind of surprised at 5-1 that Jeff Sauer didn't pull Dwayne Dirksen to wake his team up. But as the things turned out with all the penalties and everything, Wisconsin did get back into the hockey game and played rather well over the last half of the game.
And you mentioned the penalties. The Wildcats tonight 1 for 9 on the power play. And the Badgers were 0 for 10. Great penalty killing job by NMU.
Well, Northern Michigan right up along the top line of the WCHA in penalty kills, and that's one thing that last year was so good about this hockey team. And I think Northern Michigan leading the league in power plays right now. If they're not leading the league in penalty killing, they've got to be right up at the top of the list.
So tomorrow night it'll be game 2, and the way the Badgers played over the second half of the game tonight, we could see a little bit different things to come tomorrow night.
Well, it could happen. We could see different things happen. It'll be interesting to see if Northern Michigan can come out for the second straight week and put together back-to-back wins. And I think that's something that the coaching staff for Northern Michigan is going to emphasize going into tomorrow night's hockey game.
I think it'll be very interesting to see who gets the first goal tomorrow night.
We'll have to wait and see.
That'll do it for tonight. For Tom McCord and all our staff and crew here at Channel 8, I'm Dave Dennis. We'll see you tomorrow night.